So hi guys, welcome again to another session of Marketing Chisel. Every fortnight we bring together a community that's nearly reached 100 people now of B2B marketers. And every fortnight we have a specialist person that knows the topic well, who presents for about 50 to 20 minutes, and then we get 10 minutes to ask questions from people on the call. I then record the session as I'm doing now, and I share it with the community and put that on YouTube. And yeah, we're getting up good momentum here in terms of the number of people. And great today, we've got Clara Toombs joining us here today, and she's going to be talking about all things email marketing. So Clara, if you want to share your screen with your presentation and crack on, I'll just be admitting people as they come in here on the call.
Awesome, thank you. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Amazing, I'm just gonna minimize. Awesome, so we're going to be talking about the 5 must-have principles for your email marketing. So just a bit about me. I'm Clara. I'm really passionate about helping businesses grow through email marketing. I run my own email marketing consultancy, and I'm also part of the community of experts at Growth Division. I'm also a certified executive coach and mentor, and that's something I do 2-3 times a month. I live in Watford with my partner David and my cat Bonnie, and I love talking about music, learning, sustainability, festivals, travel, being veggie, and I'm really excited to be here. Just a really brief overview about my journey. My background is email marketing, CRM, and I've worked for some big players over the years. So Expedia Group, Monsoon Accessorize, Money Supermarket, Photobox. So a real mix of fashion, travel, e-commerce. I've also contributed to books on email marketing. So the digital marketing strategy book that came out about a year ago. And I've also delivered keynote speeches to over 3,000 people. I'm now running my own consulting company and working for Growth Division. So fundamentally, email marketing is all about building connection with your audience, building a relationship. And the challenges of email marketing are, well, there are a few. So ambitious revenue targets, decreased budgets, limited time, massively high expectations, complexity. There might be data in different places, or there might be no data at all. Perhaps there's no dedicated design, tech, or analytics support, particularly in the startup world. Or you might have a boss who doesn't see the value or return on investment in email marketing. So today we'll be going through the 5 must-have principles for your email marketing strategy. Let's start by defining what we first of all mean by strategy. So I'm just going to move this out of the way so I can see. So in order to achieve your strategy, you essentially want to step through a series of steps. So the first step is to really understand your business goals. So what are your business goals kind of more broadly as a business? That then defines your marketing goals and strategy, which then leads you to your email marketing goals and strategy. We then execute the plan, measure results, and refine the strategy. And email marketing can support each stage of the buyer journey. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the awareness, interest, desire model. But however, I've added on here how email can support through each stage. So for example, during the awareness stage, a subscriber could sign up to your newsletter after visiting your website. In terms of interest, open testimonials or educational emails are useful at this stage. In terms of desire, your audience might interact with email content such as surveys. And then in terms of action, they might receive a promotional email from you and decide to take action and buy from you. So what do we mean by an email marketing strategy? Hide the controls. So why have an email marketing strategy? Well, it helps you connect and build a relationship with your target audience. It offers a highly personalized experience, and it delivers a powerful return on investment and repeat sales. So without a strategy, you risk confusing or even losing your audience. So let's dive into the 5 must-have principles for your email marketing strategy. Number 1 is get super clear on your goals. So what are your business goals for the next 12 months? And what stage is your business at? I've outlined a bit of an example here just to help bring this to life. So let's take company A, which is a startup, and company B, which is a B2B company that's been established 5 years. So the business goal for company A is to grow 20% through acquisition of new customers. The business goal for company B is to increase purchase repeat rate by 15%. So how can email marketing support both of these companies? Well, the email marketing goals for company A could be to improve email signups by 20% and help optimize their welcome sequence to improve open and click rate. The email marketing goals for company B could be to enhance and improve nurture sequences to keep existing clients engaged so that 15% of repurchases are within the next 6 to 12 months. So you can see here how email goals can support the broader business goals in slightly different ways according to the overarching goals for the business. So my top tips for goal setting are to acknowledge the stage of business your business is at and what the broader business goals are. Create email marketing goals that support your broader business goals and determine what success looks like. My tip number 2 is to leverage insights that already exist. So it's really good to, at this point, reflect on what do we know already within the business. So do we know enough about our audience? What information do we already have? How much of these insights are we currently using? And how much access do we have to this data? So for example, is all the data in one place? It's very a nice luxury for that to happen. But often what is the case is that data might be in different places, it might be difficult to reach. So by getting clear on who your audience is, you can provide compelling and personalized customer experiences, increase engagement and repeat purchases, and be able to best solve your audience's pain points. By getting clear on who your audience is, you can also create wow content that resonates with your target audience. So my top insight tips here are to gather what you already know about your audience and start to build that picture. Insights are so key to understanding how we can provide a better service or product. Get help from data tech people if possible to help you build a single customer view. Now, I appreciate in bigger companies, this is much easier, but even just starting to pull together a view will help you drive those insights and identify the gaps and turn these into opportunities. So it might be through, and this is something I do a lot with clients, is through customer journey mapping, we identify that there's a massive gap and an opportunity to improve the customer experience. So these gaps aren't bad things, they can be used to your advantage. Number 3 is to get personal with your audience. So email personalization is so much more than just including a name in a subject line. And as an email marketing expert, it's a bit of a bugbear of mine that perhaps this is all people see as personalization, but it is so much more. So personalized emails deliver 6 times higher revenue per email, but only 70% of brands fail to personalize their email marketing. In fact, 70% is very high. So it's a real missed opportunity. So you might be asking, how do I use data to personalize the customer experience? Well, I'm going to share a case study here of a client I worked with a few months ago. The client problem was that there was lots of interest in free classes for pregnancy, but no one was signing up to the paid classes. So the impact on the business was low revenue and spending hours creating emails that were not working. So this solopreneur was spending weekends, hours at night during the week and weekends creating emails that just weren't performing. The solution in working with me was to come up with a due date that we included in the sign-up form. And by doing this, we were able to personalize the content according to trimester. So we could speak to people during their pregnancy at different stages in the most appropriate way, driving engagement for this client. My big tip here is to don't overcomplicate it, start small and build. So number 4 is segment and serve your audience. So I'm very much a fan of simplified segmentation. So if you don't have anything in place, here are some easy ways to segment your audience. So number 1 is high value. So of your entire audience, who are those that are driving the most value? Now, one of the common challenges with email marketing is that you might not have the sales data in your platform, and therefore you're stitching it together. But you can start to look at who are the most engaged as a starting point. Number 2 is who's most active overall. So you want to see who are those people that are interacting with your brand on a regular basis. And then number 3 are identifying those that are lapsing or lapsed. So say, for example, your average, the average interaction with your brand is maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year. Let's say you're a fashion brand. If that starts to decline, you want to identify those people and categorize them as lapsing or lapsed so you can speak to them slightly differently. So one way to do this is to find commonalities across your audience. And once you've identified those commonalities, you can then understand what they're struggling with. How are you solving their problems? So it's about creating content that solves their specific challenges, sparks curiosity, and drives relevancy and inspires action. So say, for example, we took the fashion brand. If people are very much interested in, say, the vegan side of fashion, you might want to start creating a segment where you share vegan type products and content. So it's very much identifying what are the interests of your audience. What are they most likely to engage with? Content is king, as Bill Gates once said. And I encourage you very much to think about how you can wow your audience with content. So great content will keep your audience engaged through the buying cycle, even if they've just purchased with you. This is really important for all types of businesses, even membership type businesses. You want to keep people engaged with your services, even when there isn't necessarily a need for them to buy at that point in time. You want to remain front of mind. One of the things also when it comes to content is to not forget about designing for mobile first. Now, most email platforms will allow you to view mobile view, but sometimes we don't test what that looks like. And revenue per email on mobile is 4 times higher than desktop. So it's important not to forget mobile. I'm going to skip this slide. In fact, I left this one in actually because I wanted to share. So who is doing it well? I've included a couple of slides here of email designs that I think are doing that have been done really well. So I don't know if you've heard of the brand Lick. They're a paint brand. I'm very much into home interiors. And they have quite a distinctive style. Here they're introducing a new color type of style for that they've called Soho House. And it's just really clean and aligns really well to their brand. So it piqued my interest. Another brand I'm a big fan of is Patch Plants, they're probably startup / scale up, and they deliver plants to your home. So what I like about this is that they've included the founder in the email, and it just felt really personal in terms of the message that he has shared. Just a quick overview of a simple wireframe, and this is something I get asked a lot in terms of, how should I structure my email? What do I start with? What's included? Now, this is very, very simplified, and there's so many different iterations of a great email, but here are some of the basics to include. So first of all, starting with a compelling subject line. make sure you have your preview pre-header text as well, and they can work well together. Then think about the body of the email. So have a bold headline, something that's going to grab the attention of your readers. I really like to use visuals in most of my emails, unless it's, there's maybe a reason not to. But for most of my clients, I include visual imagery just to make the email pop. And again, depending on whether you're signing off from the founder or if it's more of a kind of brand closing, you might want to include some kind of salutation and a clear call to action. One of the biggest mistakes I see small businesses make is that they don't include a call to action, and that's so important. Just to note that our attention spans have reduced, so I kind of call this the TikTok generation. So our read rate of emails has actually dropped quite significantly. We used to spend a lot more time reading emails, and now, in fact, we spend a lot less time. So when it comes to content tips, some of the questions that are really good to start with are, what questions do you get asked about all the time by your target audience? You could turn this into content and leverage this content across your marketing channels. So it doesn't have to just be for email. A website that I refer to quite frequently for inspiration is called Really Good Emails. Included the URL here. They have a selection of really visual type emails, and you can search by brand, by type of business. So if you haven't checked that website out, I highly recommend taking a look. And then 5 is innovate through a test and learn strategy. So my philosophy has always been test, learn, iterate. It's with email marketing, as with any other marketing channel, it's important that we build on the learnings of what we have delivered. And that's often, for the majority of email marketing teams, is what they're looking at: A/B testing, building, iterating, developing email campaigns and automations. So what should you test? Well, there are a number of things you can test, but there needs to be a reason. So for example, you might see that your open rates are declining. So you could try testing different subject lines, testing at different times of day. You might be seeing a decline in your click rate. So you could try switching up your content from long form to short form. So what I mentioned earlier about the TikTok generation and how we are not able to have the attention span we used to, maybe it's about now switching to shorter form content. And that's something I'm doing a lot more with my clients. We're trying a lot more kind of short form content. Try to make your call to action more prominent and make sure it's like really clear for people to see. And if you're seeing poor sales, then address your content mix. Are you too heavy on the promotional emails? Is that turning people off? Maybe try switching up and talking, including content pillars that are maybe more educational, or perhaps include some social proofing, so it's not too full on when it comes to promotional emails. So just a recap then of the 5 principles. So number 1 is get clear, get super clear on your goals, leverage the insight that already exists, get personal, segment and serve your audience, and innovate through a test and learn strategy. Thank you so much for listening. Here are my details. I'd love to hear if you have any questions. I'd love to connect. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Great, thanks, Clara. That was awesome. So much content in there. It's really useful. And I loved how you positioned it, first of all, as email marketing about connecting and building a relationship, which I think sometimes is completely forgotten, and email's really considered to be just transactional, or just for one particular purpose, rather than trying to build up that relationship with your customers over time. And the good brands do that really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had some great questions come through here, so I'm going to actually throw it out to questions that have come in over the chat. So kind of Tristan was talking about if you've got any specific examples that come to mind specific for B2B. I think he's kind of saying often that you see kind of bland blanket newsletters or things that don't have personalization in them, whereas maybe B2C with more data behind it is more considered. So if you've got any good examples from B2B?
Yeah, I think the thing to think about with B2B is that we're still B2B, we're all still human beings. We want to find content interesting and engaging. And I think the key thing with B2B is that it's a longer purchasing cycle. So we're potentially talking about maybe, you know, several months. I worked with a client recently who is selling garden rooms. So they're essentially sustainable rooms built outside. It's a 25 grand product. So, you know, you're not going to just open an email and buy straight away. Or maybe you do have that luxury, but most of us don't. So I think my kind of guidance around B2B is to build that relationship, tell a story. I'm a big fan of storytelling through email. And I think a lot of people might be on the fence, pardon the pun, when it comes to buying perhaps a B2B product. So it's about testimonials, showing how you've helped others, case studies, that kind of thing. And I think it is about building that relationship over a longer period of time, particularly if the price point is high.
Makes sense. And Jess had a question here, which I think is really good, especially B2B data, around kind of reaching out to cold data. So, yeah, you know, I think especially kind of the B2B world, you're either kind of reaching out either through first touch with people, or, you know, even through LinkedIn, where you've got that kind of similar kind of consideration. Have you got any recommendations of that, or, you know, any particular examples of warming up lists, as well as all the decent creative that should be sent out?
Yeah, it's with cold emails, I think it's a whole different approach. And I think it has to be the awareness of what the strategy was to contact them in the first place. So, you know, did they attend an event recently? But I think it is very much about building that relationship and that connection. So finding common ground. I'm a big fan of building a story over several emails rather than putting it all into one. I think you can have an impactful first email, but leave them wanting more. So I think it's about building curiosity as well, so that they open the next email and they engage with you. I think a lot of people pack too much into that first email, and that can be overwhelming. It's like telling your entire life story upon meeting someone for the first time.
As I suppose there's a few questions that Tim's got one here as well, and some of kind of my thoughts around making it look not salesy, so more conversational. Whereas, you know, sometimes B2C, if you're buying from a particular brand, there's, you know, colors or things that's going to bring it to life. Whereas sometimes, because you're building that relationship potentially with the salesperson behind it, and there's going to need to be a demo, there's going to be, you know, a longer sales cycle. Is it better to go with conversational type emails with PSs? It's not coming as a blanket. He's even saying, you know, not necessarily have a call to action there. It's not necessarily salesy. So you're just looking for a response directly rather than taking an action. Do you find that there's that balance there for B2B?
Yeah, I think with, you know, I mentioned in the deck that it's about understanding the pain point that your client is going through. And I think if you really get into their world and put their shoes on and actually walk around and understand what that's like for them, you can tackle a lot of the sales objections through email marketing. And that's something that I like to do through like things like welcome sequences. So if people are on the fence about things or unsure, they don't feel that maybe they know you enough, you can tackle those objections up front. I think that's a great way to do it. So a great thing to do is list out all the objections you're likely to get for your service or product and tackle it through email.
Makes sense. Makes sense. In terms of, you know, when you're, for whatever reason, you've had a perfect relationship with this person, but for whatever reason they want to unsubscribe, right? So we want to have a clean separation. Do you make it very clear and easy to unsubscribe? Do you, if you try to contact somebody from a particular period of time and they haven't opened, say, 2 or 3 emails, do you remove people from lists? How proactive are you with lists in that way and keeping it as clean as possible? Because I'm very much aware of trying to get things into the main folder rather than the promo folder, where they might as well just die unless you're kind of just going through it on your phone there.
Yeah, really good question. It's not a bad thing if someone unsubscribes. It's just I always see it as it's not the right time for them right now. But obviously you don't want a high unsubscribe rate, so you want to be monitoring that. In terms of when to move them into the kind of lapsing bucket, it depends on the frequency of, how often kind of the average transactions you have over a period of a year. So for example, if it's a one-off purchase, people buy once a year from you, then you don't necessarily need to do that. If people are buying from you monthly and then they drop off, then you're going to want to talk to them differently, re-engage them. So I think it all depends on how frequently people are buying your products, the price point, but it's about identifying those that are dropping off and doing that quickly so you can tackle that with different messaging. So it might be re-engaging them through like, maybe incentives if that's something your business does, like discounts, that kind of thing. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be quick to move them into the lapsing bucket unless that's something that has been defined well from, by your business.
Makes sense. Kind of running out of time here. One last question I wanted to ask you, because you were at Money Supermarket. What was the kind of best performing campaign that you saw there, in terms of emails with customers?
So the one that I was very happy to be around for, working with an agency, was something called Your Money Roundup, and it's something I will 100% deliver one day. It was a complicated, on the back end, it had about 100 data points, and I had an excellent developer and designer in my team who could make the kind of tech happen. But essentially, once a month, we sent a personalized email that told you when your insurance is due, when your credit score whether it's moved, whether your energy bill, needs any kind of attention there. So it's this multi-functional personalized email. And yeah, we did really well with it. It increased engagement. I need to dig out the stats, but it did really well. So that's something I'm very proud of.
Yeah, amazing level of personalization there by the sounds of things.
Yeah, massively.
Good stuff. Right, we're bang on past, and try and keep these to time, short and sharp session. So thank you so much, Clara. Appreciate it. And
Thank
as
you so much.
usual, I will send the recording round either tomorrow or Monday.
Lovely.
And yeah, see you in a fortnight. Thanks a lot for attending, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clara.
Cheers, guys.